Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we have an update on the story we were talking about yesterday. So yesterday, there was a lot of discussion about Pyoro's latest hints. Pyoro is known as the most reliable Nintendo leaker. And they posted an image of an old Nintendo Entertainment System cartridge that was used for the original 1990 Nintendo World Championships. But this hint sent people in a lot of different directions, most of which were relating to potentially a Switch 2 teaser. Many people were thinking that this might be hinting at something like this, because instead of using the more known gold version of the Nintendo World Championships cartridge, they chose to use the one that has more switching and switches detailed on the cartridge. So given that there's a lot of thought right now that Nintendo may make some sort of announcement regarding their next generation console during their next investors meeting early next week, and also that Pyoro did speak on Switch 2 and things he's been hearing behind the scenes just a few days ago, many were thinking that this was somehow a hint at Switch 2, given all the switches. But as it turns out, it's looking like this hint was more so about another Nintendo game that's using the name of the Nintendo World Championships. So it's not another competition, but a game. How do we know this? Well, it's not 100% confirmed yet, but there's a few different things that are suggesting it very strongly. One is Pyoro. Pyoro is saying here, this is literally Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, LOL. Jolts on Twitter asks him, so is it just a port of this then? Pyoro says no. Victor413 asks, $40? Pyoro says, $30. So Pyoro here is indicating that there's going to be a game announcement having to do with Nintendo World Championships NES Edition, and that it's going to be a $30 game. And what's interesting about this is that we've all just recently discovered that there is an ESRB rating for Nintendo World Championships NES Edition by Nintendo. And when you read the description, this is what they say about the game. This is a collection of 2D challenges and platformer games in which players traverse through various modes, example speedrun, survival, several challenges involving reaching specific points, while others prompt players to defeat small enemies or survive brief battles. Some games depict pixelated characters using small swords or arrows to strike at enemies. Enemies typically get stunned or disappear in a flash. And so basically the takeaway here is that both Pyoro and the SRB have tipped us off to an imminent Nintendo announcement. Something's about to be announced soon. And it's looking like this game is going to be something somewhat of a spiritual successor to the NES remake series, where they take NES games and they remix them. And so this time the spin is it's about Nintendo World Championships, so they're going to be adapting NES games for specific competitive moments. And that might be pretty fun to see, so I'm kind of excited about this, and it does have me thinking that this could be the July game. So what do I mean by the July game? Well, if we look at all the years of Nintendo Switch, every single year, there have been Nintendo published titles in the month of July. There have been no exceptions. But what's interesting about this year, compared to prior years, is that by this point, we would have known about the July game, except for one. That was the pandemic year back in 2020, where we never got a general Nintendo Direct, and Nintendo announced Paper Mario the Origami King in May to release in July. And so here we are again, we haven't gotten a general Nintendo Direct, it's already May, and there has been no announcements for a game in July. So it's looking like we're about to get another May announcement for a game in July. And I think this makes a lot of sense because it goes to show that even while you may get a Direct in June, you need to announce published titles, like maybe what this Nintendo World Championships NES Edition might be, just a bit more beforehand. Of course, that is my speculation. We do not know when this game will be announced or for when it will be coming out. But based off what Pyoro is saying and also the recent ESRB rating, it's seeming like this game is most likely legit and will be announced soon. And that does lead me to believe that it should be releasing soon. Maybe this July, but who knows. Now I will speak a bit more on the Switch 2 situation. Do I find it odd that Pyoro chose a cartridge with switches, a lot of switches, when they could have chosen the more known golden cartridge to suggest this Nintendo World Championships NES Edition? I do think they made a bit of a peculiar choice here. They also went a whole day before clarifying. They liked one tweet that had to do with Switch 3 and Switch 4, which may have been indicating that they were just kind of joking around. and that people maybe jump into conclusions, but it wasn't 100% clear. And Pyoro did just recently mention that they had heard internal conversations about Switch 2. And Nintendo's investor meeting is still early next week, where many are expecting some type of official word about what Nintendo's plans are for this current fiscal year, which many are thinking will include their next generation console. So basically what I'm thinking here is that very clearly Pyoro is definitely hinting at another game announcement from Nintendo that has to do with some sort of NES edition of the Nintendo World Championships. But there's a part of me that's still thinking that they put this out in this way knowing how people might react. So there's a bit of wishful thinking that I have that somehow this may have a double meaning. Or just coincidentally they picked the cartridge that was more misleading, and maybe we still get Switch 2 information early next week. Many people were thinking this regardless of what Pyoro had to say anyways. But what do you guys make of all this latest information? Do you believe Pyoro? Do you think this is getting announced soon? Do you still think something Switch 2 related could also be announced soon? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.